Lucas Santos, 8 years old, and Sofia Santos, 6 years old, disappeared on July 23, 2016, while waiting in their family's vehicle during a breakdown on a remote stretch of Route 66 near Needles, California. The children vanished while their mother, Maria Santos, had walked approximately 2 miles to seek mechanical assistance at the nearest service station. According to police reports filed with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, Maria Santos, a 34-year-old elementary school teacher from Phoenix, Arizona, had been traveling westbound on historic Route 66 with her 2 children as part of a planned summer vacation. The family had departed Phoenix on July 20, 2016, intending to complete a cross-country journey along the famous highway before returning to Arizona in time for the new school year. Maria Santos later told investigators that the family's 2008 Honda Accord experienced mechanical problems around 3:30 p.m. on July 23, approximately 15 miles east of Needles, in an area with no cellular phone coverage. According to her statement to police, the vehicle had been making unusual noises for several miles before completely losing power and coasting to a stop on the shoulder of the highway. Santos reported that she attempted to restart the engine multiple times without success. The location where the vehicle broke down was described in police reports as an isolated section of old Route 66 that runs parallel to Interstate 40. Traffic flow in this area was minimal, with most commercial and passenger vehicles using the modern interstate highway instead of the historic route. Santos told investigators she waited approximately 30 minutes for another vehicle to pass before deciding to seek help on foot. Santos stated in her police interview that she instructed both children to remain inside the locked vehicle while she walked to find assistance. According to her account, she specifically told Lucas and Sofia not to open the doors for anyone and to stay together until she returned. She estimated the walk to the nearest visible business, a gas station and convenience store, would take approximately 45 minutes round trip. The gas station, identified in police reports as Murphy's Desert Stop, was located 1.8 miles west of where the Santos vehicle had broken down. Station owner William Murphy later confirmed to investigators that Maria Santos arrived at his establishment around 4:15 p.m., appearing distressed and requesting assistance with her disabled vehicle. Murphy stated that Santos explained her situation and asked to use the phone to contact roadside assistance. Murphy told police that he offered to drive Santos back to her vehicle while they waited for a tow truck, but she declined, preferring to return with a qualified mechanic who could potentially repair the car on site. Station employee David Rodriguez, who was working that afternoon, confirmed Murphy's account and added that Santos appeared anxious about leaving her children alone for an extended period. Rodriguez contacted Garcia's Auto Repair in Needles on Santos's behalf, and mechanic Tony Garcia agreed to respond to the location. According to Garcia's statement to police, he arrived at Murphy's Desert Stop around 4:35 p.m. and followed Santos back toward her disabled vehicle in his service truck. The round trip from the gas station to the breakdown location took approximately 20 minutes. When Santos and Garcia arrived at the location where the Honda Accord had been left, they found the vehicle empty, with both front doors standing open. According to police reports, Santos immediately began calling for her children and searching the immediate area around the car. Garcia told investigators that Santos became extremely distressed and asked him to help look for the children while she continued calling their names. Garcia reported that the children's belongings were visible inside the vehicle, including backpacks, snacks, and electronic devices that the family had been using during their trip. Nothing appeared to have been taken from the car, and there were no obvious signs of a struggle in or around the vehicle. Garcia noted that the car keys were still in the ignition where Santos had left them. Santos used Garcia's cell phone to contact the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department at 5:02 p.m., according to dispatch records obtained by investigators. The initial missing persons report was filed by Deputy Sheriff Patricia Monroe, who responded to the scene at 5:28 p.m. Monroe's report noted that Santos was in an extremely emotional state and required several attempts to provide a coherent account of events. Deputy Monroe immediately initiated a search of the surrounding area, focusing on locations where 2 young children might have wandered if they had left the vehicle voluntarily. The terrain around the breakdown site was described in police reports as desert scrubland with scattered rocks and minimal vegetation, offering little shelter or protection from the afternoon heat. Additional law enforcement units arrived at the scene by 6:15 p.m., including officers from the Needles Police Department and additional deputies from the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. Sergeant Robert Hayes, who would later lead the investigation, coordinated the initial search efforts and established a command post near the abandoned vehicle. The California Highway Patrol was notified of the incident at 6:45 p.m. and immediately issued an Amber Alert for both children. The alert included descriptions of Lucas Santos as a Hispanic male, approximately 4 feet tall, weighing 60 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes, last seen wearing a blue t-shirt and khaki shorts. Sofia Santos was described as a Hispanic female, approximately 3.5 feet tall, weighing 45 pounds with long brown hair and brown eyes, last seen wearing a pink sundress and white sandals. Search and rescue teams from the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department arrived at the scene around 8:30 p.m., bringing specialized equipment for desert searches, including all-terrain vehicles, portable lighting systems, and thermal imaging equipment. The search area was initially established as a 2-mile radius around the abandoned vehicle, based on estimates of how far young children might travel on foot in the desert environment. Maria Santos provided detailed background information to investigators during formal interviews conducted on July 24th and July 25th. According to police reports, Santos was employed as a third-grade teacher at Desert View Elementary School in Phoenix and had been planning the Route 66 vacation for over a year. She told investigators that the trip represented a significant financial investment for her as a single mother, and that she had saved money from a part-time tutoring job to fund the journey. Santos explained to investigators that she had separated from the children's father, Ricardo Santos, in 2014, and that he had not been involved in planning or funding the vacation. She stated that Ricardo had limited contact with the children and was not aware of their specific travel plans. Police confirmed through court records that Maria Santos had primary custody of both children, with Ricardo Santos having supervised visitation rights every other weekend. The children's school records, obtained by investigators, showed no history of behavioral problems or incidents that might suggest they would leave a vehicle against their mother's instructions. Teachers at Desert View Elementary described both Lucas and Sofia as well-behaved children who followed directions and stayed close to their mother during school activities and field trips. During the first 48 hours of the investigation, police interviewed numerous potential witnesses who had traveled through the area on July 23rd. Several motorists reported seeing the disabled Honda Accord on the shoulder of Route 66, but none recalled seeing the children outside the vehicle. A trucker named James Patterson told investigators he had passed the location around 3:45 p.m. and noticed the car but did not observe any occupants. The investigation revealed that Route 66 in that particular area experiences very light traffic, with most vehicles belonging to tourists specifically seeking the historic highway experience or local residents familiar with the roads. California Department of Transportation traffic data indicated that the section of road where the Santos family's car broke down typically sees fewer than 200 vehicles per day during summer months. Search efforts expanded on July 25th to include helicopter surveillance provided by the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department's aviation unit. Aerial searches covered approximately 50 square miles of desert terrain surrounding the incident location, focusing on washes, rocky outcroppings, and other areas where children might seek shelter or become trapped. K-9 units from multiple law enforcement agencies participated in ground searches beginning July 26th. According to police reports, tracking dogs were able to detect the children's scent extending approximately 100 yards south of the vehicle before losing the trail completely. Search coordinators noted that desert conditions, including wind and extreme heat, made scent tracking particularly challenging. The Federal Bureau of Investigation became involved in the case on July 27th, following standard protocols for missing children cases that potentially involve interstate travel. FBI Special Agent Jennifer Walsh was assigned as the lead federal investigator and coordinated with local law enforcement to expand the investigation beyond California's borders. Media coverage of the disappearance began on July 24th, with local news reports, and expanded to national coverage by July 26th. The story attracted attention from major news networks due to the mysterious circumstances and the iconic Route 66 location. CNN, Fox News, and other outlets broadcast regular updates on the search efforts and interviewed family members and law enforcement officials. Sofia Santos participated in several televised interviews during the first week of the investigation, appealing for information about her children's whereabouts. During a July 28th interview with a Phoenix television station, Santos stated that Lucas and Sofia had never previously wandered away from her and always followed safety instructions. She emphasized that both children were familiar with stranger safety concepts and would not have voluntarily left the vehicle with unknown individuals. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children issued official missing person flyers for both children on July 29th, distributing them to law enforcement agencies, truck stops, and businesses along major highways throughout the southwestern United States. The organization also posted the children's information on their website and social media platforms, generating thousands of shares and public responses. Community volunteers from Needles, Barstow, and surrounding areas organized civilian search parties beginning July 30th. According to police reports, more than 200 volunteers participated in organized searches during the first 2 weeks of the investigation. Search coordinators established specific areas for civilian teams to avoid interfering with professional search and rescue operations. The children's disappearance prompted discussions about safety for families traveling remote sections of historic highways. The California Department of Transportation announced on August 5th that they would review emergency communication options for isolated stretches of Route 66, including the potential installation of emergency call boxes in areas with no cellular coverage. By August 15, 2016, active search operations had been scaled back due to the extensive area already covered and the lack of new evidence or credible sightings. Sergeant Hayes announced that the case would transition to an ongoing investigation phase, with detectives continuing to follow up on tips and leads as they were received. The investigation file, according to police sources, eventually grew to include more than 500 tips from the public, ranging from potential sightings in other states to theories about what might have happened to the children. Each tip was evaluated and investigated when sufficient detail was provided, though none resulted in confirmed sightings or recovery of the children. Sofia Santos returned to her teaching position in Phoenix for the 2016-2017 school year, but took a leave of absence in October 2016 to focus on advocacy efforts and continued searching for her children. She established a social media presence dedicated to keeping public attention on the case and regularly traveled to other states to follow up on reported sightings. The case received periodic media attention on anniversaries of the disappearance and when similar missing children cases occurred in other locations. True crime television programs and podcasts featured the Santos children's story, often focusing on the unusual circumstances of their disappearance and the challenges of searching vast desert areas. The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department maintained the case as an active investigation, with detectives regularly reviewing new tips and re-examining existing evidence using updated forensic techniques. The FBI continued its involvement in the case as part of ongoing efforts to identify patterns in missing children cases along major highway corridors. In 2019, Deputy Robert Hayes was promoted to Sheriff of San Bernardino County and announced that he would personally oversee a comprehensive review of all cold cases from his department, including the Santos children disappearance. Hayes stated in press interviews that advances in investigative technology and data analysis might reveal new leads in cases that had gone cold, despite extensive initial investigations. The case file remained open as of 2025, with the children now classified as long-term missing persons. Age progression photographs were created and distributed by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, showing what Lucas and Sofia might look like as teenagers. The case continues to generate occasional tips and reported sightings, though none have been confirmed by investigators. The immediate response to Lucas and Sofia Santos's disappearance began at 5:02 p.m. on July 23, 2016, when Sofia Santos contacted the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department using mechanic Tony Garcia's cellular phone. Dispatch records show that the initial call was handled by emergency communications operator Linda Morrison, who immediately classified the incident as a missing children emergency and dispatched the nearest available patrol unit to the location on historic Route 66. Deputy Sheriff Patricia Monroe arrived at the scene at 5:28 p.m., according to official police logs. Monroe's initial report described finding Maria Santos in an extremely distressed state, repeatedly calling her children's names, and searching through desert brush near the abandoned Honda Accord. The deputy noted that Santos was coherent enough to provide basic information about the children's descriptions and the timeline of events, though she required multiple attempts to complete her account due to emotional distress. Monroe immediately radioed for additional units and notified her supervisor, Sergeant Robert Hayes, of the situation. Hayes arrived at the scene at 5:45 p.m. and took command of the initial response efforts. According to police reports, Hayes established a preliminary search perimeter and began coordinating with other law enforcement agencies that would need to be involved in a missing children case of this nature. The California Highway Patrol was contacted at 6:15 p.m. to assist with traffic control and to issue an Amber Alert for both children. CHP officer Sandra Rodriguez responded to the scene and began documenting the abandoned vehicle while other officers established a wider security perimeter around the area. The Amber Alert was officially issued at 6:45 p.m., broadcasting descriptions of Lucas and Sofia Santos across California, Nevada, and Arizona. Search and Rescue Coordinator Lieutenant Mark Thompson arrived at 7:20 p.m. with the first specialized search team from the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. Thompson's team included 4 search specialists, 2 K-9 handlers, and equipment for conducting nighttime desert searches. According to Thompson's report, the initial search priority focused on areas within walking distance of the vehicle where young children might have wandered or become lost. The search area was initially established as a 1-mile radius around the abandoned Honda Accord, based on estimates provided by child behavior specialists about how far children of Lucas and Sofia's ages might travel on foot. Search teams used portable lighting equipment to continue operations after sunset, focusing on washes, rock formations, and other areas where children might seek shelter or become trapped in desert terrain. FBI involvement began on July 24th, when the case was reported to the National Crime Information Center, as required for missing children cases with potential interstate implications. Special Agent Jennifer Walsh from the FBI's Los Angeles field office was assigned as the lead federal investigator and arrived at the scene on the morning of July 24th to coordinate with local law enforcement agencies. According to FBI reports, Agent Walsh immediately ordered a complete forensic examination of the Santos family vehicle and the surrounding area. Federal crime scene technicians processed the Honda Accord for fingerprints, DNA evidence, and any other physical evidence that might indicate what had happened to the children. The examination revealed no signs of forced entry or struggle, with the children's belongings undisturbed inside the vehicle. Media attention began on July 24th, when local news outlets in the Mojave Desert region reported on the missing children case. KLAS-TV in Las Vegas and KABC-TV in Los Angeles were among the first stations to broadcast the story, leading to wider coverage by national news networks. The combination of young children disappearing in a remote desert location and the iconic Route 66 setting attracted significant public interest. Maria Santos participated in her first media interview on July 25th with KNBC-TV in Los Angeles, appealing for public assistance in locating her children. During the interview, Santos provided detailed descriptions of Lucas and Sofia's personalities and emphasized that they would not have voluntarily left the vehicle against her instructions. The interview was subsequently picked up by national news networks and broadcast across the country. Search operations expanded significantly on July 25th, with the arrival of additional resources from multiple agencies. The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department's search and rescue team deployed all-terrain vehicles and additional personnel, while the California Office of Emergency Services provided helicopter support for aerial surveillance of the vast desert area surrounding the incident location. Helicopter searches conducted on July 25th and 26th covered approximately 100 square miles of desert terrain, according to flight logs maintained by the California Highway Patrol's aviation unit. Pilots used both visual observation and thermal imaging equipment to search for any signs of the missing children, focusing on areas that would be difficult to access on foot by ground search teams. Canine tracking units from the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department and the Riverside County Sheriff's Department were deployed beginning July 26th. According to handler reports, tracking dogs were able to detect scent trails leading south from the abandoned vehicle for approximately 150 yards before losing the trail completely. Search coordinators noted that desert wind conditions and extreme daytime temperatures made scent tracking particularly challenging in the environment. The investigation expanded to include background checks on Maria Santos and her family circumstances. Detective Lisa Park was assigned to review Santos's financial records, employment history, and personal relationships to determine if there might be any factors that could explain the children's disappearance. According to police reports, this standard investigative procedure revealed no suspicious circumstances or potential motives for Santos to harm her children. Financial records obtained through court orders showed that Santos had saved approximately $3,200 for the Route 66 vacation over a period of 18 months through her teaching salary and part-time tutoring income. Bank records indicated no unusual transactions or withdrawals that might suggest advanced planning for the children's disappearance. Insurance investigators confirmed that Santos had no life insurance policies on her children that would provide financial motive. The children's father, Ricardo Santos, was located and interviewed by Phoenix Police Department detectives on July 27th. According to police reports, Ricardo Santos was employed as a construction worker in Phoenix and had been at work during the time his children disappeared. His employer confirmed his presence at a job site, and co-workers provided statements supporting his alibi. Ricardo Santos told investigators he had not spoken to Maria or the children since their previous scheduled visitation on July 10th. Family court records reviewed by investigators showed that Ricardo Santos had limited involvement in his children's lives following his separation from Maria in 2014. Court documents indicated that he was required to pay monthly child support, but had been inconsistent with payments. Family court officials confirmed that Ricardo had not requested expanded visitation rights or expressed any desire to modify the custody arrangement. Extended family members and friends of Maria Santos were interviewed during the first week of the investigation. Santos's mother, Carmen Ruiz, told investigators that Maria had been excited about the vacation and had discussed her plans extensively with family members. Ruiz stated that Maria was an attentive mother who maintained close supervision of her children and would never have intentionally placed them in danger. School officials from Desert View Elementary School in Phoenix provided character references for Maria Santos and information about her children's behavior patterns. Principal Janet Rodriguez told investigators that Santos was a dedicated teacher and parent who had never shown signs of emotional instability or concerning behavior. Lucas and Sofia's teachers described both children as well-adjusted and closely bonded with their mother. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children became involved in the case on July 28th, providing specialized resources for missing children investigations. The organization created official missing person flyers with the children's photographs and distributed them to law enforcement agencies, truck stops, and businesses throughout the southwestern United States. The center also established a dedicated tip line for information related to the Santos children. Public response to media coverage resulted in hundreds of reported sightings during the first 2 weeks of the investigation. The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department assigned Detective Maria Gonzalez to coordinate the evaluation of tips received from the public. According to police reports, most tips were determined to be cases of mistaken identity, though each potential sighting was investigated when sufficient detail was provided. Several reported sightings in Nevada, Arizona, and New Mexico prompted interstate coordination between law enforcement agencies. Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department officers investigated a reported sighting at a truck stop near Henderson, Nevada, on July 29th, but security footage review determined the children in question were not Lucas and Sofia Santos. Similar investigations in Flagstaff, Arizona, and Albuquerque, New Mexico also proved unsuccessful. Community volunteers organized search efforts beginning July 30th, with coordination provided by the Needles Community Center. Volunteer coordinator Sarah Mitchell told local media that more than 150 people participated in the first organized civilian search, covering areas near the incident location that had not been thoroughly examined by professional search teams. All volunteer activities were coordinated with law enforcement to avoid interfering with official investigation efforts. The search area was expanded to include abandoned buildings, mine shafts, and other structures within a 5-mile radius of where the children disappeared. San Bernardino County officials provided maps of known mine locations in the area, and search teams systematically examined each site using specialized equipment to detect any signs of the missing children. According to search reports, no evidence was found at any of the examined locations. Route 66 business owners and employees were interviewed to determine if anyone had seen the Santos family or noticed suspicious activity in the area on July 23rd. Gas station attendants, restaurant workers, and motel clerks along a 50-mile stretch of the highway were shown photographs of Lucas and Sofia Santos. Several employees recalled seeing the family's Honda Accord during their westbound journey, but none reported unusual circumstances or suspicious individuals in the area. The California Department of Transportation provided traffic camera footage from locations along Interstate 40 and Route 66 for the time period surrounding the children's disappearance. According to investigators, the footage was reviewed for any vehicles that might have been in the area during the critical time window, though the remote location meant limited camera coverage was available. Truck drivers and commercial vehicle operators were specifically targeted for interviews due to their frequent travel through the area and elevated vantage points that might allow them to observe activities not visible to passenger car drivers. The California Trucking Association distributed flyers about the missing children to member companies, and several truckers contacted investigators with information about vehicles they had observed in the area on July 23rd. Long-haul trucker James Patterson provided the most detailed account of vehicles he observed near the incident location. Patterson told investigators he had passed the disabled Honda Accord around 3:45 p.m. and noticed it appeared to be occupied, though he could not see specific individuals inside. He also reported observing a dark-colored pickup truck in the area approximately 15 minutes later, though he could not provide specific details about the vehicle or its occupants. The investigation team consulted with experts in child psychology and behavior to better understand how Lucas and Sofia might have responded to being left alone in the vehicle. Dr. Rebecca Martinez, a child psychologist with the University of California system, provided analysis suggesting that children of their ages would be unlikely to voluntarily leave a vehicle against specific parental instructions, particularly in an unfamiliar and potentially frightening environment. Search efforts were hampered by extreme summer temperatures in the Mojave Desert, with daytime highs exceeding 110 degrees Fahrenheit during the investigation period. Search coordinators had to modify operation schedules to protect both professional search personnel and civilian volunteers from heat-related illness. Most intensive search activities were conducted during early morning and evening hours when temperatures were more manageable. The challenging environmental conditions also raised concerns about the children's survival prospects if they had wandered into the desert on foot. Medical experts consulted by investigators noted that young children would be particularly vulnerable to dehydration and heat-related illness in such extreme conditions, making rapid location critical for any chance of survival. By August 10, 2016, active search operations had covered more than 200 square miles of desert terrain, without discovering any physical evidence related to the missing children. Search coordinators acknowledged that the vast area and challenging terrain made comprehensive coverage extremely difficult, even with significant resources and personnel committed to the effort. The case attracted attention from national media outlets including CNN, NBC News, and ABC News, which produced feature stories about the disappearance and the challenges of searching desert environments. The coverage helped maintain public awareness of the case, but also generated additional unverified tips and theories from viewers across the country. Maria Santos took a leave of absence from her teaching position in August 2016 to focus full-time on efforts to locate her children. She established a social media presence dedicated to the search and began traveling to other states to follow up on reported sightings. Santos also worked with missing children advocacy organizations to raise awareness about cases involving children who disappear in remote areas. The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department officially transitioned the case to inactive status on August 20th, 2016, though investigators emphasized that all credible tips and leads would continue to be investigated. Sheriff John McMahon announced during a press conference that more than 400 law enforcement personnel and civilians had participated in search efforts covering an area larger than some major cities. Detective Robert Hayes, who had coordinated much of the initial investigation, was promoted to sergeant in early 2017 and continued to oversee the Santos case as part of his responsibilities for unsolved crimes. Hayes stated in subsequent interviews that the case remained one of the most puzzling he had encountered, given the lack of physical evidence or credible witness accounts explaining how two young children could simply vanish from a vehicle in broad daylight. The case file continued to grow as investigators received periodic tips and reported sightings from other states. By late 2016, the file included more than 600 individual tips from the public, though none had resulted in confirmed sightings or recovery of the children. Each tip was evaluated and investigated when sufficient detail was provided, maintaining hope that someone might have crucial information about the children's fate. Anniversary coverage of the disappearance in July 2017 renewed public interest in the case and generated additional tips and reported sightings. Maria Santos participated in several television interviews marking the one-year anniversary, again, appealing for anyone with information to contact law enforcement. She emphasized that she would never stop searching for Lucas and Sofia and continued to believe that someone had seen something that could help solve the case. The breakthrough in the Santos children case began in January 2025, when Sheriff Robert Hayes, who had been promoted from his role as investigating sergeant, ordered a comprehensive cold case review using advanced investigative technologies that had not been available during the original 2016 investigation. Hayes assigned Detective Sarah Kim to lead the review, utilizing new digital analysis capabilities and updated federal databases that might reveal previously overlooked connections or evidence. Detective Kim's first priority was re-examining all physical evidence using current forensic techniques. The Honda Accord, which had been stored in the department's evidence facility since 2016, was subjected to enhanced DNA analysis and digital fingerprint processing. Advanced laboratory techniques revealed partial fingerprints on the vehicle's exterior that had not been detected during the original investigation, though initial analysis could not immediately identify their source. The most significant development came when Detective Kim requested enhanced analysis of traffic camera footage from a truck stop located approximately 15 miles from the breakdown site. The original investigation had obtained this footage in 2016, but limitations of digital enhancement technology at that time had prevented detailed examination of vehicle license plates and occupant identification. Advanced software available in 2025 allowed investigators to extract previously undetectable details from the archived footage. Enhanced analysis of the truck stop security footage revealed that the Santos family Honda Accord had passed the location at 2:47 p.m. on July 23, 2016, approximately 43 minutes before Maria Santos reported the vehicle breakdown. The timestamp analysis confirmed Santos's account of their travel timeline and eliminated earlier investigative theories that had questioned the accuracy of her reported timeline of events. More significantly, the enhanced footage analysis revealed a dark blue pickup truck with Nevada license plates following approximately 200 yards behind the Santos vehicle as it passed the truck stop. Digital enhancement specialists were able to extract a partial license plate number and vehicle description that had been impossible to detect using 2016 technology. The Nevada Department of Motor Vehicles was contacted to identify possible matches for the partial plate information. Detective Kim also coordinated with the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit to create an updated profile of potential suspects and circumstances surrounding the children's disappearance. The analysis considered new research on child trafficking patterns along major highway corridors and identified Route 66 as part of a network of roads frequently used by criminal organizations involved in human trafficking operations. FBI Special Agent Michael Torres, who had taken over the federal investigation from the retired Agent Walsh, provided Detective Kim with access to a national database of missing children cases along major highways. The database analysis revealed 7 other cases since 2010, involving children who had disappeared under similar circumstances along Route 66 and other historic highways in the southwestern United States. The pattern analysis revealed that several cases involved families experiencing vehicle breakdowns in remote areas, followed by brief separations that resulted in children disappearing without trace evidence. In 3 of the cases, parents had left vehicles to seek assistance, returning to find their children gone. The similarities suggested a coordinated effort by individuals who specifically targeted vulnerable families in isolated locations. Further investigation revealed that the dark blue pickup truck identified in the enhanced footage had been reported stolen from a Las Vegas rental car facility on July 20, 2016, 3 days before the Santos children disappeared. The stolen vehicle report had been filed with Las Vegas Metropolitan Police, but had not been connected to the missing children case due to the geographic distance and lack of obvious connection during the original investigation. Las Vegas police records showed that the stolen pickup truck had been recovered on July 25, 2016, abandoned in a parking lot near McCarran International Airport. The vehicle had been processed for evidence at the time of recovery, but since it was classified as a routine auto theft case, the evidence had not been analyzed for potential connections to other crimes. Detective Kim requested that all evidence from the recovered vehicle be reanalyzed using current forensic techniques. The reanalysis of evidence from the stolen pickup truck yielded crucial results. DNA evidence recovered from the vehicle's interior matched samples that had been collected from the Santos family Honda Accord during the original investigation. Hair fibers found in the truck's cargo area were determined through advanced testing to be consistent with samples from Lucas and Sofia Santos that had been collected from their clothing and personal belongings. Detective Kim coordinated with federal investigators to examine the broader pattern of child disappearances along highway corridors throughout the southwestern United States. The FBI's Human Trafficking Task Force had been tracking suspected criminal networks that specialized in child trafficking, using remote highway locations to target vulnerable families and individuals. The investigation revealed that organized trafficking groups had been using sophisticated methods to identify and target potential victims. These groups monitored traffic patterns, identified vehicles likely to contain families with children, and created situations that would separate parents from their children in remote locations. Vehicle breakdowns were sometimes deliberately caused through mechanical sabotage or other methods designed to strand families in isolated areas. Federal investigators had identified a specific criminal organization that had been operating along Route 66 and other historic highways since approximately 2012. The organization used stolen vehicles, false identities, and coordinated communications to conduct trafficking operations across multiple states. Members of the group had been linked to dozens of missing children cases throughout the region, though prosecutions had been difficult due to the sophisticated nature of their operations. On March 15, 2025, federal agents arrested 5 individuals in Las Vegas, Phoenix, and Albuquerque as part of a coordinated operation targeting the trafficking network. The arrests were based on evidence developed through the Santos case review and connected investigations into other missing children cases. Among those arrested was Daniel Morrison, a 45-year-old Nevada resident who had been identified through the enhanced license plate analysis from the truck stop footage. Morrison was found to be in possession of detailed maps marking remote locations along major highways where vehicle breakdowns might be staged or where stranded motorists might be targeted. Federal agents also recovered communications equipment and false identification documents that had been used to coordinate trafficking operations across multiple states. During federal court proceedings, Morrison's defense attorney negotiated a plea agreement in exchange for information about the trafficking network's operations and the fate of missing children, including Lucas and Sofia Santos. According to court documents, Morrison provided detailed information about the organization's methods and identified specific individuals involved in various trafficking operations since 2012. Morrison's testimony revealed that the Santos children had been taken as part of a coordinated operation that targeted the family after members of the trafficking network observed their vehicle during earlier stops along Route 66. The organization had been monitoring the family's progress and identified the remote breakdown location as an opportunity to separate the children from their mother. According to Morrison's account, Lucas and Sofia Santos had been transported to a location in Nevada where they were held with other trafficking victims before being moved to buyers in another state. Morrison claimed that the children were alive as of his last contact with the organization in late 2016, but stated that he had no knowledge of their current whereabouts or condition. Federal investigators were able to verify some aspects of Morrison's account through surveillance footage and communications records, though significant portions of his testimony could not be independently confirmed. The investigation revealed that the trafficking network had used sophisticated methods to move victims across state lines and had connections to buyers throughout the United States and internationally. Additional arrests were made throughout 2025 as federal investigators followed leads provided by Morrison and other cooperating witnesses. By November 2025, a total of 12 individuals had been charged in connection with the trafficking network, including several who were specifically linked to the Santos children's disappearance. Maria Santos was notified of the arrests and the information provided by Morrison during a meeting with Detective Kim and FBI agents on March 20, 2025. According to police reports, Santos expressed relief that progress had been made in the case, but emphasized that her primary concern remained locating her children and bringing them home safely. The revelation that Lucas and Sofia had been victims of human trafficking, rather than random crime or accidental death, provided Santos with hope that her children might still be alive, though she acknowledged the significant challenges involved in locating trafficking victims after nearly 9 years. She began working with victim advocacy organizations and federal agencies to coordinate efforts to locate her children. Federal prosecutors filed charges against Morrison and other network members, including conspiracy to commit human trafficking, kidnapping, and transportation of minors across state lines. The charges carried potential sentences of life imprisonment without parole, reflecting the serious nature of the crimes and the impact on numerous victim families. The Santos case resolution led to enhanced safety measures along Route 66 and other historic highways. The National Park Service and state transportation departments implemented improved emergency communication systems in remote areas, including satellite-based emergency call boxes and enhanced cellular coverage along previously isolated stretches of highway. Sheriff Hayes announced that the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department would be partnering with federal agencies to provide enhanced training for deputies responding to missing children cases in remote areas. The training would include recognition of potential trafficking indicators and protocols for coordinating with federal investigators when patterns suggest organized criminal activity. The case also prompted legislation in California and other southwestern states requiring enhanced reporting and coordination between agencies when children disappear under suspicious circumstances. The legislation, known as the Santos Children Protection Act, mandated specific protocols for investigating disappearances that might be connected to human trafficking networks. Maria Santos established the Lucas and Sofia Santos Foundation in late 2025, dedicated to supporting families of missing children and advocating for enhanced law enforcement training and resources for trafficking investigations. The foundation also worked to raise awareness about human trafficking risks and safety measures for families traveling in remote areas. Detective Kim received recognition from the International Association of Chiefs of Police for her work on the Santos case and its connection to the broader trafficking investigation. The case was cited as an example of how advances in forensic technology and coordinated law enforcement efforts could resolve cold cases that had seemed unsolvable using earlier investigative methods. The trafficking network investigation continued into 2026, with federal agents working to identify and locate victims who had been trafficked over the organization's years of operation. The FBI established a dedicated victim recovery task force specifically focused on locating children who had been trafficked by the network, including Lucas and Sofia Santos. As of late 2025, Lucas and Sofia Santos remained missing, though federal investigators expressed cautious optimism that the prosecution of the trafficking network might eventually lead to information about their current location. Age progression photographs were updated to show what the children might look like as teenagers, and these images were distributed to law enforcement agencies and victim advocacy organizations worldwide. The case demonstrated the evolving nature of criminal organizations involved in human trafficking and the importance of interstate and federal coordination in investigating crimes that cross jurisdictional boundaries. Law enforcement officials noted that the Santos case had provided crucial insights into trafficking methods and had led to the disruption of a significant criminal network. Sheriff Hayes reflected that the resolution of the Santos case, while providing important answers about what had happened to the children, also highlighted the ongoing challenges faced by families of trafficking victims. He emphasized that law enforcement agencies would continue working to locate Lucas and Sofia Santos and other victims of the trafficking network, regardless of how much time had passed since their disappearance. The investigation files in the Santos case were eventually transferred to a federal task force focused specifically on locating victims of the trafficking network. The task force continued to follow leads and investigate potential sightings of Lucas and Sofia Santos, maintaining hope that the children might eventually be recovered and reunited with their mother after nearly a decade of separation. Maria Santos continued her advocacy work and maintained regular contact with federal investigators working on victim recovery efforts. She expressed gratitude that the truth about her children's disappearance had finally been revealed, while emphasizing that her ultimate goal remained bringing Lucas and Sofia home safely. The case remained an active federal investigation as of 2026, with agents continuing to pursue all available leads in their efforts to locate the missing children.